about it today, but my girlfriend made a good point. Is like, you basically in 72 hours, I worked. What was it? 14 hours. Or 15 hours, 16 hours. I guess. Well, I can't do the math on it, but it was like 15 or 16 hours one day, 8 hours one day, and then like 5.5 hours. So plus editing. So, oh boy, I guess when you factor in those edits, that was actually like 16, 9, 7. So, okay. What does that math do? 16 plus 16 is 32. It's 32 hours and 72 hours spent working. That's pretty good. But so she's like, okay, well, you know, when you figure that out, that's pretty revengey. You know, you're working really hard, and in 36 hours you made a lot of money, which is like, that's true. Even though I have to basically give it all to the government, it does make me feel a little better about my financial situation to be working, and I don't really mind working hard. I do quite like it. I wish I could take that mentality of like showing up and shooting and doing a really good job, like working the angles. I wish I could apply that to doing YouTube stuff and doing my own kind of personal projects, because I think there's something, it's like when there's not the people pleaser in me needs like a person to please. And so I don't know if I just like need to build up enough of an audience where it's like, okay, I have to support my audience, and then that part of my brain will kick in. But it's not there yet for my YouTube stuff, and definitely not there yet for I want to start I did start a channel for like my Warhammer hobby, and it had 18 subscribers. Now it has 17 because someone unsubscribed. Rude. And so it's like, when the stakes are that low, you can't really motivate yourself to like work. So you kind of just do it when you feel like it, because it's like supposed to be a fun thing, and you don't want it to turn into work, especially when it's like not even monetized. Like, it's definitely not paying anything. But if I could monetize that channel, then I could write off all my Warhammer purchases as tax write-offs for the channel, which would be awesome because I've already spent way too much money on Warhammer shit. So, anyway, that's kind of the short update. Other update, my girlfriend is asleep over there. I don't think you can see her in the background. So if she bolts upright all of a sudden, that's what that is. Anyway, so I was working on it's like a reality TV show concept for this other YouTuber who I had never met, but they are based here in Omaha, and it was like a furniture flipping contest. And so imagine like Bake Off, but for furniture flipping. And so I was like, I didn't even realize like there was an audience for that sort of thing. But like, I don't know. She has the YouTuber, her and her partner have, I don't know, it's like 250,000 subscribers. And then the judges, I think collectively between like the judges and like the main host of the show, had like over 1 million subscribers. And obviously there's probably some overlap. But like this, so I guess like, okay, it's niche, but like it does well enough for them to have like a storefront, which they say is one of those weird things. It's fun to like talk to somebody that's like a lot further ahead in their journey, because they had a really good point. Was like they opened this storefront, which they thought would be great, and then they could do classes out of it and stuff. But it's like all that did was like give people a location for us that like they knew they could come find us, and like after like 2 months of like people coming in and just like picking their brain for like 2-3 hours at a time and then not buying anything, they're like, let's not do this furniture store thing anymore. So they kind of stopped that, and now they have this space for like a year, and so they're like trying to figure out things they could do with it, especially because their plan for the rest of the year is to like go travel and visit people and do a bunch of collabs and stuff. And you're like, yeah, okay, like that makes sense. I don't know, with the type of work I do, I don't think I would ever have a storefront, but I was thinking about if I did a Warhammer channel and it took off, like maybe I could have a Warhammer store. But I don't think I would care if people came and wanted to talk to me about Warhammer. So I think I'd be okay with that. And I think it'd be fun to have a store that sold Warhammer stuff, especially because I found out the markup on Warhammer stuff is insanely good. A friend of mine owns a gaming shop, and I don't know if I'm able to disclose. I don't know if he's able to. But it's like a friend tells you like, "Oh, this is our price on that," and you're like, "Oh boy!" Like, wow, okay, that's a good markup. Like, so you probably don't have to move that much product to like make your lease, especially if you were able to use it as a tax write-off for the filming side. If it was purpose built to like do the battle reports, which is where you just do you play Warhammer games and you kind of do a recap video of the game. It's like if you just did that, if that was the first, and then like there was a storefront attached to it, I think you could probably make a pretty good go of it. Although there is several stores already in town that service the Warhammer community. I think I don't know. I think it would be cool to have like a place for tabletop games that's like a tabletop game studio. So it's like, come play your tabletop game here. You can record it. We'll have. I don't know. I don't think I would want to like provide the cameras because people are stupid, and they break stuff and they don't care about other people's stuff, even when it's really expensive. So I don't know if it'd be the sort of thing where it's like it's X per hour and that gets you an operator, and then it comes with the cameras, and that makes sense. Or it's you have a secondary room that's like it's Y per hour, and it just has like the lighting is kind of like cheaper lighting, but it's like preset aimed at the table, and like you bring your own stuff and it'll have mounting points, and it's like you just come, you mount your shit, and off to the races, baby. So but I also don't know if you'd get enough traffic. You'd have to have like, because anybody that could afford to pay you to rent the space to do battle reports could probably lease their own space. So it's like a very small window of like people that can afford to pay you to do it, but don't make enough money, to actually like have their own space dedicated for it. So it's maybe in a bigger city you could do it, but probably not in Omaha, Nebraska. But pipe dreams, so dream away, baby. Especially with the way commercial real estate is going, though, I think you probably could get some dumpy strip mall somewhere, or some like warehouse space that you could, finagle for cheap, and just like it's not a storefront. Like, you really just need to like have something that's like after hours is not really being used, so you could go in. It's not going to be loud. And you just have your space to set up the big 6x4 table with enough space to walk around it and enough space to like prop it out, with some shelves or something. I don't know what you would do, but I think it'd be equally likely to just have a apartment, with 3 bedrooms, where like 1 bedroom is like the Warhammer room, and then do it that way, which would be awesome. But I think we're gonna sign our lease here again for a 2-year, or not a 2-year, but another year, that'll be our 4th year, which is cool. This is the longest I've ever lived in one place since living at my parents' house, which is interesting statistic. Yeah. So, but I think that's long-term stuff. I do want to get into that Warhammer stuff with the video making. I don't know how it's gonna go, and I think I've got like option paralysis, so I just need to start putting stuff out there and shape it from there. Because when you only have 17 subscribers, there's like no risk. You should put anything out there and just like see what resonates with people and what resonates with yourself. I think that's the other big part of it that people forget or lose sight of, is like it has to be fun for you to make, or it's not, like you don't make enough money doing this to like justify it if you're not having fun with it. So try new things, and then even if they don't pan out like you don't like. And I think that's like one of the biggest life lessons I ever learned was from my friend Matt Hova. I was like kind of lost. I didn't know like what direction I wanted, and like, man, I just don't know what I want to do, you know, like, just with this, and, like, I really, you know, this. And he's like, okay, that's cool, but, like, what don't you like to do? Like, what do you hate doing? And then he had me make, like, a list, and, like, you would be surprised how much that narrows it down. Like, if you kind of have, like, a general direction of, like, oh, I want to be a coder, or I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to, you know, be a photographer, make videos, I want to make art, you can kind of, like, say, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, and that eliminates so many possibilities that after that you kind of just, like, oh, okay. Like, I could say, like, I don't really like editing. Like, okay, that knocks down a whole lot of stuff of, like, ASMR is great because I just talk at the camera, and every now and then I make a couple little snippets, but, like, most of the time it's just record, send it to the thing, add some color, mess with the audio levels a little bit, and then just put it all online, and that's it. And, like, with Warhammer, like, you could kind of do that with battle reports. And then if they started getting enough views, you could sort of, like, because I don't hate editing, I just don't like doing it. It doesn't give me joy. It's a very frustrating process. But the flip side of that is that a lot of the frustration comes from the client side. And I think if I was editing my own stuff and I had say, I was like, what it could do, and I could be like, this is what I think it should be. You know, and then set it down for a day or two and go back to it and look at it and be like, okay, well, that was all good, but this doesn't really work yet. And then I could, you know, futz it after a day or two of, like, then fresh eyes. I think I would have a lot more fun with it. But it's like when you do work for clients and you, like, have a cut you feel really good about, and they come back with notes, sometimes they're good, but a lot of the time it's just, like, frustrating to have to go back and do the work again. You know, it's frustrating. But that is the biz. So it goes, right? Yeah, that's kind of just what. But I don't know. I just want to be making more stuff. I want to be making my own stuff. And I think a big push for that is just to, like, balance out the workload. Because when you work freelance, and I guess it's less balancing out the workload and more just, like, balancing out the cash flow. Because, like, between the YouTube channels, it brings in a couple $100 a month, which is awesome, and it, like, pays a good chunk of our expenses, but not all of them, or, you know, even most of it. But it helps, and so it's like, okay, if you could count on at least X per month, and some months will be more, some months will be less, it starts to stress me out a lot less. That there's, you know, because there's always times in the freelance world where, like, the phone just doesn't ring. You know, December, January, February, like, are usually very slow months. And then you kind of know the summer is going to be busier, and especially into the fall, like the early fall, up till October, you know, and then sometimes November is hit or miss. It's either really busy or not busy at all. And you don't have to stress so much about getting hired and the changes in technology making things easier, and now, like, more and more sets have less people on them, more and more sets have younger people, which is, like, I kind of know, like, you know, 10 years ago I got into the business, I wasn't charging enough, and now I'm one of the old vets, and now I'm charging, like, an appropriate rate, and there's new people coming in that can do the job, obviously not as well, but do a good enough standard, and they're charging half what I charge, and you're just like, that's the business, baby. And it's like, should those people be charging what I charge? Like, there's that, you know, the old vets told me back then, like, you should be charging these rates, and I'm like, no one's gonna hire me at those rates. And so I can't blame these new kids for charging half of what I charge, or maybe not charging that, but, like, taking that. If someone offers them, like, hey, will you take $300 to do this? And they're like, $300, that's amazing. You know, like, yeah, it probably was amazing for, like, that. It's like $300 for a day rate. It's great when you're, like, 20 and you live with your parents and you don't have bills. And then when you are, you know, getting closer to 40 and your body makes creaky noises just because you moved your shoulder. It's good timing on that. You can't do $300 day rates anymore. And, like, you know, like, I could do a $300 day rate if you're gonna hire me for like 20 days in a month, and they're gonna be all half days, so it doesn't like destroy my body in the process. Sure, great. Like, yeah, that'll be enough money. What is that, $6,000? Yeah, I'll do that. But it's like when you only get hired like 1 or 2 days a week, and then some weeks you don't get hired at all. Like, you need to figure out for those expenses. So basically all that is to say is I have time if I can just set the intention. And the biggest part about it is the biggest advice that I've gleaned over the last couple of years. I don't know where I heard it from, but it is so true. Is just don't sit down. It's like if I sit down on that couch, I can just delete an hour of my day. Like, it's going nowhere. I'm gonna spend it on Reddit or looking at stupid shit on the internet that's not gonna give me anything. And a big part of that is like after you have that time sitting on the couch scrolling, that time sitting at your computer when you should be working, scrolling, watching, stuff, you kind of just ask yourself, you check in with yourself frequently, like, is what I'm doing giving me energy or taking energy away? And so often, like, I get on my phone and it's just psychic damage, psychic damage, psychic damage. It's just political stuff, awful thing happening in the world that I could do nothing about, awful thing happening locally that I am equally powerless to stop. Like, there are things happening locally that suck, and I probably could make a difference in them, but like the amount of mental and emotional energy it would take to get there, I wouldn't get anything else done. And it's like, it's so hard. So you have to like dissociate and be strategic and help where you can. But like, a lot of the time it's just easier to just put on your own gas mask and realize, like, I have a lot of stuff wrong with my life. I am not in a place to devote that much mental energy to this thing that these other people are determined to spend all of their mental energy to destroy. And it's just like, it's so much stuff, and it's like, it's always something new. And because they've got nothing better to do, and I have better things to do, and so it sucks. And trying to rectify, like, wanting to fix these terrible things, and the realization is like, you still have debt and your car's falling apart and you need to make money so that you can replace your car, and you really can't spend time trying to fix this thing. I just wish there was more concrete things you could do on a, like, as your available basis, because it's like so much of these things are like so time and resource heavy, and it's like you can't just show up once. And it's like, it'd be great if you could just, there could be a collaboration of people, and it's just like once a week for an hour, we do this, and it's something that can kind of move the needle in the right direction. And I have long thought about, I had this idea of like starting a church, and somebody was like, that sounds like a cult, and I'm like, but it's like a church, and not, it's the concept of a church is like once a month, once every 2 weeks, we meet, and there is someone who is a motivational speaker doing some life lesson stuff, but like less in the parable moral sense and more in the sort of TED Talk way, and then on the alternating weeks is like we have action groups, basically, is kind of what I would. So once a month there is a motivational speaker or informational speaker, a TED Talk sort of thing. Maybe there's 2 or 3 of them, and then there's social fellowship time, and then that's where you would learn about the action groups for the month, or the season, the quarter, or however you would break it out. And it's kind of just like, okay, this is the environmental group. On the 2nd and 3rd Saturday in the afternoon, they're gonna go clean a park. Like, we'll supplies you need, great. And then on, the whatever day, like we'll have our food bank, or we'll have people, driving people around to pick up, like do a food bank. Think about that. It's just like, hey, do you have food to donate? Like, we will come to you and pick it up, and then we, drop it off at the food bank, or, helping people with, a small squad of people that are like pseudo handymen, people that can kind of DIY stuff, and it's like you send us requests, and we send out this squad of commando DIYers to come help old people and people that are disabled, like mow their lawn, edge their shed, and whatever. Like, so you call that a cult, because eventually stuff like that always becomes a cult, and I am self-aware enough to know that, like, my ego would probably make me out to be some grand savior, and that would probably be bad, so I'd probably have to build in a bunch of fail-safes and checks and balances to prevent it from being a cult, because I don't really want to be a cult leader. Although it does seem like fun to be a cult leader. I don't know. You just make a bunch of money and like everyone worships you. Actually, I would hate that, because I'd be like, the people pleaser in me, I don't think could be a cult leader, because I'd be like, what could the cult leader do for you? I'd be the worst cult leader ever. Anyway, but we'll fix some disabled people in some old people's yards. Be a pretty good cult. I don't know. You enjoy my cult? Let's come on down to Omaha, Nebraska. Live on the farm. Once a month we've got TED Talks, and the rest of the time we just mow yards and stuff or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, those are all my grand plans for life, and we'll see how much of them we can get accomplished. Probably not the cult thing, but maybe. I don't know. You don't know. Could be fun. So hopefully you're building up some grand plans of your own, but if not, hey, simple's good too. So I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that turns around for you real soon, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.